Hi, my name is Kawena Charlot, and I'm the director of the School of Intuitive Living, and I'm also a psychic and an energetic healer. And today we're going to talk about past lives and why it's beneficial to look at them. And so I'm going to just start over right now, but that's okay. You can just edit this part out. Hello, hello, hello. La la la. Hi, my name is Kawena Charlot, and I'm the director of the School of Intuitive Living, and I'm also a psychic and an energetic healer. And today we're going to talk about the benefits of looking at past lives and what we can get from them. So I believe in reincarnation, and I've done a ton of readings, and I look at past lives and see how they affect people all the time. Sometimes it's just sometimes it really kind of gives that little kernel of knowledge that allows people to kind of make sense out of a situation in their life in which they just couldn't kind of grasp. And a lot about our past lives has to do with karma and agreements that we've made in past lives that are maybe currently affecting this one. But there's a lot of benefits at looking at past lives. One is that we get the whys, all the little why. Sometimes we have these little idiosyncrasies about ourselves. I don't know why I always do that little thing. I don't know why I always check to see if the hairdryer is on or something's been left on. Well, maybe you had a house that burned down in a past life, and so you just have this little thing. I used to have a fabulous, not anymore, but I had a fabulous point, and I really had fantastic dancer's legs when I was a teenager, and I had been a ballerina in a past life. So sometimes these little ways, and also phobias. A lot of times people have these real phobias. They're real things. They can have a fear of sharks. They can have a fear of closed places. They can have a fear of volcanoes. They can have lots and lots of fears. And I have seen more cases than I can count where somebody figured out that this was not in present time, that this phobia was not about something that they were trying, this life right here. So for example, I'm trying to pick. There's so many phobia from a past life. So I might have talked about this one before, but I had a client who was just terribly afraid of dying in a big, earthquake or a tidal wave. It was just always some big natural disaster, and she'd had a habit of dying in those. So once she kind of found that out, that fear of that happening kind of dissipated. I've had a lot of people come in with relationship issues. I've had people come in and just be utterly convinced that they don't know why they're so paranoid about their mate. They keep feeling and accusing the person of cheating, and yet the person isn't cheating, and so they don't know why they have this thing. Why am I suspicious of this person? And then when you look at a past life, maybe there was infidelity, and then what happens a lot of times is it allows that person to kind of go, oh, okay, that's not today, that's not this time. Maybe I can cut the person some slack. Maybe I can give, and so we'll work at bringing their karma and their agreements and forgiving the person in the past and all of that, and then suddenly they can kind of go into that relationship with renewed kind of faith. And a lot of times they have a different attitude towards that person because it sort of makes sense. I've seen people get over, I've seen people be able to create when they, more easily when they figured out what something had happened, something that had happened in a past life. So for example, I've had a number of people come to me and want to get pregnant, and they couldn't get pregnant. And so I guess Kawena helps people get pregnant all over Portland. But I actually have. So basically what happens is somebody will come in and they'll say, I can't get pregnant, and I'll look at various reasons why. And sometimes there's a past life connected to that. Sometimes people, maybe they died in childbirth, or maybe they had a kid that died in a past life. And so that fear of like, ooh, I don't want, they equated death and having a kid. So once we kind of release that, we kind of bring all of, again, karma and agreements, once we release all that and connect with all of that, and then they kind of get into present time on numerous occasions. gone off and gotten pregnant. So those are just some examples of how people can kind of create when they understand past lives, or how those past lives can kind of affect things. I've even seen them affect people's bodies. Sometimes when somebody's died in a past life, from like a gunshot wound or something, sometimes there'll be a little scar on their body. But I had one woman who came in and, she had manifested something in this life that had a kind of connection to a past life. So she had gotten bit all over her face and all over her shoulder from a hobo spider. And being from Hawaii, I didn't know what a hobo spider was. So I had a little vision of this little spider with a little thing over its back, but apparently it's not. They're these awful little brown spiders that leave serious scars. So this woman had these scars all over her, to the point where she kind of hunched over and was trying to kind of cover the scars up, and her whole body looked like she had scoliosis, and it was a pretty big deal. And she came in for a number of healings, and basically what I was clearing out was the energetics of everything, but also she had had a past life where she was working on a ship, and she'd had boiling oil or boiling water, I can't remember which, thrown on her, and she'd had those scars in that past life. So it's almost like she'd recreated them in this lifetime. So as we released the energy from that past life, and we released, her feelings from both this life and that life around her whole scar situation, all of a sudden they started dissipating. Just she started, those scars and those marks were getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller as she was feeling better and better and better. So that's another way that past lives can kind of, so sometimes when you heal a past life, it can sometimes have an effect on the body. And then the other fun thing about looking at past lives is just seeing the ins and outs of karma and souls and journeys and stories. I'm a big storyteller, and I have found, after looking at tons and tons of past lives, that it gives you a lot of a faith in humanity, but also forgiveness, empathy. Because we've all, most people have done lots and lots and lots of different kinds of things. A lot of people work what we call dichotomies. They'll be at both ends of a scale. They'll be, the abuser or the abused. They'll be the slave and the slave master. They'll be, they'll be, have a life where they have a lot of freedom, and a life where they're really constrained. They'll have a life where they're very rich, and a life where they're very poor. And they're all learning lessons. They're just learning these lessons as they go through. And so the more past lives you look at, the more you can kind of have real empathy for people, and an empathy for their struggles and their journeys and where they're at. And that judgment part of you that, it really dissipates the more you look at this. And you come to it. Also, the other thing about looking at past lives is you come to a really deep sense of understanding and empathy for yourself. And it gives you this nifty way of kind of working through things that you wouldn't have otherwise. So that is a little bit about why it's beneficial to take a look at past lives. So if this is something you're interested in, my students are doing student readings, and they read a couple of past lives on Mondays and Tuesdays nights if you're here in Portland. If you're interested in a reading from me, feel free to book one. And then I also teach people how to read past lives on their own, which I always think is the best ever, is to learn how to do all this stuff for yourself. So if you're interested in any of that, feel free to contact me at Kawena@KawenaCharlot.com. You have a nice day. Bye-bye.